Welcome back to the Red River Horror Podcast, where the scares are always fresh and the nightmares are on tap. I'm your host, Joe Zakreski, and as the year lurches on, dragging its bony fingers across the calendar, we're taking a moment to reflect on the chills and thrills that have graced our screens and haunted our dreams so far. Yes, episode number 113 is about all of our favorite horror offerings of 2024. We just started the new year, but already there's some truly terrifying gems have emerged from the darkness out of 2024. So grab your favorite security blanket, turn on the lights, just in case, and join us as we delve into the films and maybe some other stuff, maybe a book, maybe a game, who knows? There's plenty, sky's the limit. Anyway, sit back, relax, and let's go down those channels of fear. And again, welcome back to the Red River Horror Podcast. It's been a minute. It's episode number 113. I'm your host, Joe Zakreski, joined by RedRiverHorror.com founder, Eddie Cayazzo. Hey, Ed, how's it going?
Oh, Joe, it's been too damn long, man. It's so good to see you.
It sure has. Great to see you too, buddy. So, taking it light this week, so no video. Our apologies, but that'll be back up.
Yes.
That'll be back up for the next one. So we're going to get into some of our favorites from 2024. But before we get into that, I'm thinking, what are we're in this new year. What are you most excited about horror-wise for 2025?
I thought there was a show coming out for HBO or Max or whatever it's called now that was going to be, what is it, Welcome to Derry?
Yes.
Joe, I mean, going all the way back to when I read the damn book and we saw the damn miniseries, I love me some It, and Bill Skarsgård reprising his role as Pennywise the Clown. I think that would be most exciting to me just on the surface. Just as we talk right now off the top of my head, I think that an It show could be really good because the book's so damn massive, man.
It's huge,
yeah.
And I am also really excited for It. Welcome to Derry. I've just decided a few years ago where I'm just going to be a stand for everything Stephen King, and just say I like it.
Yeah,
because I genuinely enjoy everything, even the stuff that's considered a miss. I don't think there's anything where I'm like, oh, I hate that so much.
No, I checked out King a few years ago when he still releases a book every year, every 2 years. And I read the one that he wrote with his son, Owen King. Mm-hmm. It was called Sleeping Beauties. It wasn't really that good. But the one that he wrote called The Outsider, that they ultimately, surprise, surprise, HBO, Max, whatever it's called, they made that into a series with Jason Bateman.
They sure did.
And the bad guy from Rogue One. I don't remember the actor's name. But I'm saying they made that into a series. But that book, it seemed there were moments in that book that were vintage King, and I was like, okay, I like it. Like, he still got it. At his age, he can still write a horror story that relates to, you reading it, and it was kind of a bit of a mystery and any of that. So I'm with you. Like, I think that King deserves, if they're going to make a work of Stephen King's into a visual piece of content, then it's probably worth us watching.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm very excited for Welcome to Derry, especially with Bill Skarsgård reprising his role as Pennywise. So there's continuity with that chapter 1, chapter 2 that they did in theaters, which again, I don't know. I just have to say this. I don't know why anybody expected the ending to be that much different from the original miniseries.
Yeah.
Like, I think some people were disappointed. I was not, because I did not have high expectations for how it was going to end.
So, I mean, I guess while we're like this, Joe, we're coming back from a little while. We had a great October of 2024, and then, life gets a little crazy, but we had a lot of fun going through all the horror movies that we went through back in October, and a lot of great interactions from the people that listen to this show. Thank you for that. We had the highest amount of traffic for any October in Red River Horror history, both site, YouTube, and all that stuff. So just a little brag on everybody and you guys. Thank you.
That's exciting.
But it's funny, as we talk about the second part of It. Mm-hmm. So I think that, we can dive into some of the stuff that we've talked about before. And when we got to It Chapter 2, I didn't go in thinking that. Like, that was a smart thing that you said. There is no iteration of the ending of It that is actually good.
No.
The book's ending is not good.
No.
The miniseries ending is horrible. So it's like, right, what did we expect?
Yeah. And here's the thing. If that bothers you, I am doing a Joe D'Angelo style thing going into Welcome to Derry. And if you don't know what our buddy Joe does, is he waits. He does not go looking for spoilers. He does not watch trailers. If he's excited to see something, he just wants to go into it with fresh eyes.
Yep.
He doesn't want anything. It's like, I know Bill Skarsgård's there. And here's the thing. If you're an It fan who does not like the adults, I am 95% certain that it's going to be mostly children, which is where the wheelhouse of the...
That's where Pennywise is most effective.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what the most of it's going to be. You know, I kind of have a lot of things in my head that, like, because I'm very excited for this show, thinking of, oh, is this going to be like, you know, the different years? Are we going into different eras, like an anthology of It in different times?
Joe,
I don't know what to expect. I'm pumped.
We read this book way too young, not realizing that the fun Tim Curry thing that scared us as kids with the rain and the evil kids and all that's not the evil main characters, but, you know, Henry Bowers and the like. When we read that book, I mean, some of that stuff cuts, man. Like the fire at the black spot, like that's some serious stuff. The shootout with I can't remember the group that was on the run that they settled in Derry, and then the whole town has a shootout to kill these people. They're criminals. Yeah, I mean, the Easter egg hunt with the explosion and all the kids pass it. Like, it's so weird. If you go to the interludes specifically of the book It, there's different times that this thing has popped up at different points in history, not just at our main characters who experience it in the first and second chapter of the movies.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the material you mentioned, I mean, all this there's so much to be excited for. And I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, I like HBO. Most of what they make is good. What can I say? The Last of Us Part 2 comes out this year. I'm stoked for that. You know, so if you're going to have Welcome to Derry, The Last of Us Part 2, I'm sure there's some other stuff that's going to pop up on there. So I'd have to do a little more digging. But so that we don't stick on Pennywise too much or Last of Us, these are things that we are going to discuss when they come out.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you the movie that I'm looking forward to, that I'm really excited for, because I love the first one. I think it has probably one of the best sequels done, and now we're going for a third. And that's 28 years later.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Is that going to be... I always get the name wrong. Is that Danny Boyle?
Yeah.
And he's going to do it.
I believe he's at the helm. I don't think there's been a change there.
Wow. So that's 28 days later, which everyone loves. 28 weeks later, which was a fine sequel.
Yeah.
And now 28 years later. Oh, boy.
Yeah, and it's Danny Boyle, so everything stays the same. I just wanted to make sure that was 100% definite before saying it was 100% definite. You know, sometimes you just question yourself.
So now, but I will admit, Joe, I mean, we kind of came up seeing the zombie phenomenon for the second time. Like, whereas if our parents saw Night of the Living Dead and we're familiar with the Romero zombies, I know you like the remake of Night of the Living Dead a lot.
Yeah.
Our good buddy Steve Morrison was in that movie.
Yeah.
Just, again, a little brag. Got to stop doing that in 2025. I got to stop. Like, I love adding little tidbits of things that we've learned along the way on this show, but I got to stop doing that. It's time to look forward, right?
Absolutely.
Time to look forward. So, but yes, there was kind of like the 80s version of the zombie, the Romero version of the zombie. We've seen that phenomenon. You and I came up at a time where it came back.
Yeah.
And it was good, like Dawn of the Dead.
It came back, and it came back aggressive.
Yes.
It wasn't the slow movers. Like, we had, you know, things were happening quick.
Yeah, because I remember you specifically saying, it may have even been on a past podcast, that with the Zack Snyder version of Dawn of the Dead, when he remade it, it's just like, oh no, like they run.
Yeah.
They're coming after you. So unfortunately, House of the Dead didn't work out, but there was another zombie revival in the early 2000s. And as part of that, 28 Days Later came out, and as far as the tone of the film, the writing, the cinematography, the effects, the acting, it was something completely different. Because and I've said it here before, I'm not the biggest zombie fan. It's not my favorite part of the horror culture. I'm just not into it all that much. I love and respect George Romero. I love some of the classic films. Like, I can watch Night of the Living Dead anytime, like the black and white. Love it. But I'm not the biggest zombie fan. And 28 Days Later was something just a little bit different. It was like, oh boy, it was heavy. Yeah. A heavy film.
Yeah. And I think they did such a good job with like separating it from those zombie movies by like, it's the rage virus. And it happened because these people freed some chimps in a lab. And, it's a good setup for shaking things up.
Yeah, and shake they did.
Yeah, and then back to The Last of Us, another one that did it in a very clever way. Which is probably the most scary because it's the most realistic of possibilities. So whoever did their homework to write that as an idea for an infection that's really well done. So I don't know if you remember, is a fungus.
Okay.
And so the fungus, it's an actual real fungus. Mm-hmm. I'm doing this all off the top of my head, so I don't have anything in front of me to back me up. But it's like, no, this is a real thing that exists in nature and will overtake. It can spore and take over insects as a host to attract for food.
Okay.
And the thing is that the due to like temperature rise, it gets bigger. Mm-hmm. And then gets into what they describe it in the show. It gets into the flour, like it gets into like spores get into food, and and that's how,
very clever,
it spreads.
My plan was to fully watch that series, Joe. I made it, I think, at least 3 or 4 episodes in, because you and Joe Griffin, our artist friend, you had me psyched about it. But the thing is, I am going to go back and watch it. Season 2, you said, is coming out, which is a bit of a separation from season 1. Like we talked about The Last of Us becoming a show a long time ago.
So HBO also does this thing that's really annoying where they're doing things on like an every other year basis. And that can drive you nuts.
Right. And did that start? I actually, sidebar off of horror for a sec. Something that I, like many people, discovered during the pandemic was The Sopranos. I'd never watched it before. But, well, you know me.
Yeah.
I watched the last episode, but that was it.
I remember.
Yeah. But so I finally went back and watched The Sopranos, and something that I didn't realize that happened to people as they were watching it was, I think there was a writer's strike during one of the seasons, and then, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that there was just a genuine separation of like, here's the first part of a season, and then it's not coming back for a little while, and people had to wait a really long time.
They did that for the last season, I think.
Okay.
Other shows have done that too, so I think they might have started the trend where it's like, oh, here's the first half next year to be continued.
Yes.
Or 18 months from now to be continued.
And The Sopranos is a different animal in that, yes, like the writing, like it's not, it's sharp. I mean, I think it's some of the best television ever made, according to other people. Like, I'm not saying I don't sit there and consume everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, you
can't.
I'm not a mob movie person. It's
Right.
like Goodfellas, The Departed, like pretty much Scorsese.
Yeah, Scorsese mob.
Like I think everything he does is fantastic. I love Scorsese movies. Who doesn't?
Sure.
But out of that, I mean, Sopranos is just. It's a fantastic show that I was not on board with in the beginning, but I also didn't have HBO back then.
Right. But the people that did, the point is, the people that did, they had to wait.
Oh, yeah.
They had to wait through a strike, and then I believe something on purpose from HBO. Like, I think there was a legitimate break, like an actual break in the show.
Yeah.
So it feels like ages ago that we talked to Joe about The Last of Us coming to television.
Yeah, it's 2023.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but I do plan on going back and watching it Mostly because our good friend Joe, another Joe, right? We have Joe D from Different Take, Joe Zakreski, the host of the Red River Horror Podcast, and Joe Griffin, the artist. Joe Griffin, the artist, who played the game, loves the series, like loves the Last of Us video games, and he absolutely loved what they put out in that season 1.
Everybody I know who's a big fan of the game loved the show.
Yeah.
So that says something.
Because usually, Joe, you know our experience. If we saw a lot of movies in the theater back in the day, like it was just like it'd be hot as hell out. And like, I think we even saw The Manchurian Candidate in the midday.
We did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it helps when you live around the corner from a movie theater.
It's true. Yeah. with Andorra, too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'd just meet at the corner and walk up.
And it was cheap.
You know, $375, $350.
Yeah. I saw Jason X twice.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
Well, we saw the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man like 8 times that summer.
I think that has the record. I think I saw that 6 times.
Yeah, something
in
like
theaters.
that. Something crazy.
But you're right. No, that's a good point. But yeah, like if someone who loves the product appreciates what was put out, but I'm saying like all the movies that we saw over the years, the ones that were made from books, undoubtedly some jackass would be in the theater and it's like, nah, it wasn't as good as the book.
Always.
Or, oh, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. Like, so I thought like let's just see, because I'm not like, I don't consume television at the rate that a lot of other people do. So I did get 3 episodes deep into The Last of Us. I do plan on going back and finishing it, but I'm inspired by people like Joe, like who could have said it's just like, well, that's not the damn game or something like that. And no, he was like all about it. So I'm like, all right, I should probably get ready for season 2 of The Last of Us.
Yeah, no, and he's not the only one. So that's something that I'm ready for. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. The other thing I'm looking forward to that's coming out on Valentine's Day is season 3 of Yellow Jackets, which looks like it's going to. A lot of people were disappointed in the second season, and I think it was like one of those things where things might have been a little too spread out, or it might have gotten a little too confusing. Whatever. I think just because the main theme of what they're getting at is like you don't want to rush to it, but they probably should have. I don't know. But I'll spare you the details. I think this one, I didn't mind it. I think this season's going to be much better.
Okay.
Just in the spooky sense of things.
Yeah.
So the first season had a little more of a spooky essence. The second season, less spooky essence. And then I think...
There's Melissa, my wife, she really wants to watch Yellow Jackets. And the thing is, what sucks right now is you can watch the first episode for free, like, so you can watch it.
Yeah, I think the first season's on Netflix.
Oh, wow. So that thing has traveled because it's a Starz show, right?
Yeah.
And Starz is owned by Paramount or...
Yeah, Paramount.
Yeah, whatever. So if the first season's on Netflix, that thing gets around.
So yeah,
season 1.
What you're going to see, if you haven't noticed in the streaming realm, is other streaming, because like how much content's been produced in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Wait, I mean 10 years. I mean, it's the amount of content out there is absolutely insane. So what they're doing now is, like I'm Hulu, you're Netflix. I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars. I'm going to have your show on my platform. You take it off of yours. So you're going to see a lot more of that switching and flip-flopping. HBO did it that's why it rebranded to Max, and then a ton of shows where it's like they're all gone, but then they popped up on Netflix and Hulu and Apple, and like so everyone's scratching each other's backs. I guess I don't know. We just pretty much just restarted cable at this point. So.
Yeah,
which was bound to happen. But anyway, I
all right. No. Yellow Jackets is something of note. I know that I saw the first episode of that because it was free.
Yeah.
I haven't. It was Starz, so I couldn't unlock it with anything. And they made it. They didn't make it easy.
Or it's Showtime.
Showtime. Okay.
Yeah, Showtime, not Starz.
Well, either way, whatever platform. Like I was thinking, ooh, like my sister had Paramount Plus, so just like let me log into that. She's like, nope. Like they were not making it easy to find that show for me to watch. So I have to do a little more digging and get back to you because I really want to see it. I liked what I saw from the first episode and would like to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's worth it. It's just when we talk about TV shows, I think one of the things why I'm excited for The Last of Us is that I don't think it's going to get I don't think they're going to try and drag it on outside of the game storyline. You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of shows tend to drag. I'm hoping that more people embrace either like the Mike Flanagan style, the one and done seasons, or the Danny McBride method of we're doing maybe 3 or 4. Or like between 2 and 4, the story has a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
So that's not horror. That's The Righteous Gemstones, which is probably one of my favorite shows of all time at this point.
Been hearing a lot of stuff about The Righteous Gemstones. Is it a comedy?
Yeah, it's a comedy.
People want me to watch it, and it's just like, look, I'm having trouble keeping up with the horror movies, and we're going to get into some of the great 2024 horror that has happened. And unfortunately, Joe, I'm going to have to give you like my bingo card when we get there because I didn't see nearly as many as I wanted to see, but I did see some things that you didn't see.
Yeah.
And you saw some things that I didn't see.
Exactly. So that's why it's like, we got a lot of homework to do, a lot of watching to put in. Mm-hmm. But I mean, and good news is that we've both had some positive promotions in our professional lives outside of podcasting. So that's kind of kept us busy.
Yes. It's going to allow us, I think, to upgrade the studio for the Red River Horror Podcast.
I think so too.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
You get to see us more.
And then, but before we get into 2024, real quick, other things I'm looking forward to, which comes out next month, or if it hasn't already started, like pre-screens, The Monkey. So that's another Stephen King.
Yes.
Saw is going to be back. A new chapter in the Saw franchise later this year.
People liked 10, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think our good friend Dave, who was on for the 2-parter we did on Saw, I think that, you know what? There's just a built-in fan base for these movies. I was more interested in the direction it was going when we saw Spiral over the pandemic.
I know.
Like
I would like
really,
more copycats.
Yeah, like that was cool. That was fun. Like I loved Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. Like it was a cool idea. It's just like, oh, okay, so it's not Jigsaw.
Yeah.
But it's in the spirit of the copycat. It was set in Philly, which is kind of cool. But but I do just think these Saw movies, man, like they love them some Jigsaw, they love them some Tobin Bell, they love Billy the Puppet, they love Amanda, and they just want to see people.
People like what they like.
They do.
It's something about that. Hey.
I'm not going to knock other horror fans. I get it. I think Dave did the best from a fan's point of view, explaining it to me why somebody would like what was put out that much, because I hung with it the longest out of us two, because you did. The thing is, like, you loved
the first one.
Yeah, like
is amazing. It's like what I love that movie so much.
So I'm a little more optimistic. I was a little more easy to kind of fool. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I went to the Comic-Con that was in Philly, like they had a really small one, and there was a big trailer and it said Saw 2. I'm like, Saw 2? What? So I was excited. I was very excited. And I honestly liked Saw 2.
It wasn't bad.
You know?
Had a good twist.
But you were done, I think, after 3, and I hung with it to 5.
Yeah, so even 3, I was just like, okay, I guess is that it? And then 4, and then it's just like introducing more like... It went from like being really clever of having people reevaluate their lives to just straight up killing.
Yeah.
But like, that's the point. It's like, yeah, whatever. I just remember Chester Bennington's scene and I just started cracking up. And he's just like, hello, Evan. You and your friends are racists. It's like, and it's like, usually he's a little more elaborate. It's like, that's all it is.
You and your friend
are racists.
Oh.
Yeah.
Please elaborate.
I guess that's why his head's shaved. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, man.
We'll probably start talking Saw when that comes out, and we'll definitely see it. But that also leads me when talk about like loving the original, and then like the thing I'm looking forward to the least in horror movies in 2025, and I'm going to watch it, The Black Phone 2. The Black Phone is so good.
It is.
It's so good. It's a movie. If you have not seen The Black Phone, I don't think I've ever watched a movie where my anxiety went through the roof. There's a scene in that movie where if I had severe heart problems, I might have had a heart attack. And if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
The cool thing about, and then talk about Stephen King, his other son, Joe Hill, who wrote that story that's based on.
How about that?
It's like, it's just a King kind of day here.
Yeah, shit.
But the thing with the Black Phone is not only was it wonderfully acted, like the acting, like those, the kid and the guy, like the two main people that we see most of the time. Holy crap. But there was a lot of, it's weird to say it because we're talking about horror, but there was a lot of heart.
Oh, yeah.
To it. Like there was a lot of stuff that, and usually that stuff in horror movies kind of takes me out of it because I just kind of either want to be scared or I want to feel some kind of rush. But the Black Phone was so good, so well done that I was invested. I was invested in the characters and, what had happened in the past. I don't want to give it away because it's too new.
Yeah. And
so you think that a sequel to that would actually be?
I don't think it's going to be good at all.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get absurd because it's like it walks a tightrope where it could get too silly.
Yes.
It doesn't, but with a sequel, I think it's going to. You're never going to recreate that attempted escape.
Right.
Like that is one of the best scenes I've ever seen in anything.
It's quite a
my heart was beating out of my chest.
Rush.
Yeah.
But the thing is, just a little background, if you haven't seen The Black Phone, all you have to do is watch like 30 seconds of the preview. So dude has a van and kidnaps kids. That's all you have to know. And,
You're going to feel like you're kidnapped with them. That's what makes it so good.
But you're right. If you bring it, so kind of like comparing it with Saw. So by the third one, it was like, oh, okay, so now we're turning this into like torture porn. It's just like now it's all about how can we freak you out the most? Like how can we skeeve you out the most? So yes, you take something like The Black Phone, which it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. It's pretty.
Yeah, I just don't know how you redo it.
So now you probably make it like, is it like body count? You know what I mean? Like do you just kind of expand on the evil of that, but just show it more? Nothing is going to.
It's probably going to be really dumb and expand on the voices behind the phone.
Yeah,
and that's what's going to be like. Okay, this is kind of corny,
right?
But that's a later problem. So,
hey,
yeah, so let's take a look back on 2024, which was what a year was there. There's, I'd say 1.5 horror movies nominated for Best Picture of the Year.
Oh,
because the other one's more of a thriller. That's the Elia, the French one. That I've not seen. I've not seen that or The Substance.
All right, so let's then go with what we did. So if you follow along at redriverhorror.com, luckily Stacey Lane Wilson has reviewed the majority of the big box horrors for 2024. So if you want to hear, if you want to read a real movie critic and like the critiquing of the films, especially as we head into Oscar season, which you brought up.
Yeah.
Because, wow, there are some nominations this year. And I think we might expand on that in a future episode really soon. Like
that's probably our next one.
Oscar-winning horror.
Yeah.
Or Oscar-nominated, Oscar-winning, whatever. Horror did really well this year, or in 2024.
Oh, yeah.
It was original. It wasn't like Friday the 13th Part 40, Halloween Part 15, or Saw Part 12. Like it wasn't any of that. What it was original ideas, original stories. We saw the merging of Blumhouse and Atomic Monster. 2024 was such a wild year in horror at the box office.
Yeah, which I think The Monkey is their first one together.
Okay, maybe. Yeah. I have to look. I thought they released some, but either way, looking back at what 2024 was and what it did for the genre, it's going to be a hard year to top. So I would say, Joe, like maybe we start at the first one that we both saw. So did you see anything before The Last Omen?
So that early in the year, I think at that time was probably... What did we see? Was that Late Night with the... We didn't watch Late Night with the Devil together.
Melissa and I watched Late Night with the Devil.
But that was definitely before
The
Last Omen.
That may have been last year.
That was early.
Christmas break hangover type. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, yeah, I think it got a theatrical release in March, but then was like floating around was it on Shudder or something?
Yes, Shudder's where I saw it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Okay, so that's a good one. Late Night with the Devil.
yeah, that really blew people away.
If you and I were to rate it, right? Like Late Night with the Devil, no halves, what would you give it?
That's a forebodder.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I think it's a forebodder.
I think you have to. I think that's one you have to watch.
Yes. It's the whole possession thing is done completely different. There's a lot of interesting things that happen. If you haven't seen it yet, Late Night with the Devil, definitely a must watch.
Yeah, that's a 2024. You missed out.
Yep. So you should have saw that one. All right. So then on to the next one that you and I would have seen. Was Maxine released before or after The Last Omen?
So Maxine was, I believe that was after.
Okay.
I believe that was after because we even did an episode on the Ty West trilogy.
Right.
Where it was fine. Because I think if you recall, I think who was that? Did I put Pearl? Pearl was the bottom of my list. I think I went X Maxine Pearl.
Yeah,
or maybe I did it in order. But
you may have done it in order because the thing is with Maxine, and we said it, and we don't have to relitigate it, but just briefly, a lot of wasted talent.
Yeah,
in Maxine, not. You know, like I always go back to when you come to Oscar season, right? What are the films that always win? If you make a film about Hollywood, usually that film does really, really well. I'm trying to think of most
because all the Hollywood people relate to it.
Right. like I'm thinking most recently would be La La Land, right?
Yeah.
Something about the industry, about the business or in LA. So
a movie about the industry won awards given out by the industry.
Exactly. So like I think that's the rule of thumb. If you see something like a Sunset Boulevard or whatever, or La La Land, if it's about Hollywood, then it's going to win.
Honestly, maybe that's why Mulholland Drive is as popular. Speaking of R.I.P. David Lynch.
R.I.P. David Lynch. And I think we
watched that. I think we looked at each other at the end. We're like, the fuck was that?
Yeah, no, we weren't used to. I think what do they call him? A surreal filmmaker? Because you know me, I'm not.
He makes weird stuff.
He makes weird stuff, and I love. That's not to say I can't appreciate. I do appreciate what David Lynch has done, but yes, that was the first one we saw was Mulholland Drive, and after a first watch, it's like, oh, like what?
What just happened?
I was too young to understand what the hell was going on.
That's probably it.
But I'm saying Maxine, I think, just to kind of bring it back, like people in LA, people in Hollywood, they love.
That's why I was getting all the love.
Like Maxine, that had a massive marketing campaign.
Yeah.
People were going crazy leading into that film. But after all the hype and all the Instagram influencers and everything, and we finally saw it, and because we had to talk about it, it was like,
Yeah, you know what? It's like I would describe it as like 70s noir.
Right.
Like,
but just from Ty West, I was hoping it would be better. I mean, she was fantastic. Mia Goth, like, of course, like she was really good. Owned it. Loved that we kind of saw that character come to a close. Like as far as like we've seen her from the very cool. But yeah, I think it was just a little overhyped. And by the time we got to it, I expected more from Ty West, and I expected more from that movie, especially with all the people that were involved in it.
Yeah. And you know what? We have to give credit where credit's due. I mean, it's an original.
It is an original.
So,
yes.
When we talk about no reboots, no extended, it was a planned trilogy and
you're right.
Executed. So, I'll have to eat crow on that because I think I was probably a little more negative on it. Not like super negative. I think, that's the trilogy itself's worth watching.
Yes, I agree.
I just don't think it deserved the praise it got.
And if you're I'm not into, like with horror movies specifically, I like to actually buy the physical copy of films.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like I know a lot of people have moved on from physical media.
Nah, physical media is back.
Well, for collectors, like people will way overpay. So if you release like remember what Joe D'Angelo was telling us from Different Take, they came out with like a Friday the 13th complete box.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I already have like like a complete box, just like, no, this one's got the artwork, this one's got added features. And it's like, I can see, it's like, okay, that's cool. But then you see it's just like $130. And it's like, well, why do I need to pay $130? And it's just like, well, people do. Yeah. And they want all the new stuff. And it's cool because actually friends of this show, Daniel Farrens and Stacey Lane Wilson, both had something to do with like works inside it. So it's fine. Great. But physical media, if you don't have to have it, which with horror movies I usually do. Like, I'm not crazy, but like I like having my horror films both on VHS and on DVD. The cool thing about the trilogy, the Ty West trilogy, is you can find some great deals if you buy it digitally, like Fandango at Home.
Oh yeah.
I know that was probably like you're waiting for a punchline. That was it.
No.
If you could probably get all 3 movies for like $20.
It's the equivalent of your friends are racist. There's no punchline. Yeah. That's it.
It was. But yes, like literally, you can find the Ty West trilogy, the X trilogy, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
For like $20 if you want to buy it digitally.
All right.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Not a bad deal.
Thought you should know.
Not a bad deal.
No.
Not a bad deal at all. Let's see. Did you see I saw the TV Glow?
I didn't see that. Was that A24? Was that an A24
Yeah,
film?
but I think it dropped on Hulu. It was like a Hulu
Okay.
direct release. So I'm like trying to think of ones because that was one that I think Joe D might have been saying it was not worth it, which is why we didn't watch it.
Yeah, because I usually trust him.
Yeah.
Like, he's the one, speaking of Ty West, he's the one who showed us House of the Devil. He's the one who showed us Prince of Darkness for the first time. He's the one that told us there was an extended Halloween 6.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean...
So, like, if Joe D told us, he's like, I probably would take his counsel on that.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I come across it, I'll watch it.
In general, other than, the newer Halloweens, we don't agree.
His obsession with the new Halloween. And we're going to dig more, like...
I respect his passion for the franchise.
I do too. But this year's Red October got a little ridiculous.
It got a little out of hand.
Yeah.
But we survived.
We survived, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, so I saw the TV Glow, did not see that. Again, I'm trying to think of, trying to center this here. Was that before or after The Last Omen? Because that's where...
So Last Omen's like April. So
okay, because that's where I kind of remember me picking up. If we were to talk about horror films, we actually saw that in theaters.
We did, and it was great.
I thought it was good too.
We really enjoyed that one.
It was disturbing. It was well acted. It was well directed. I think you and I both agreed on the ending. Not going to spoil it, but let's just say with horror films, that doesn't always need to be a happy ending, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we'll leave it there. That's worth seeing, though.
I mean, if you've ever listened to this podcast, you've heard me complain about it, whether it be the First Omen or
Evil Dead Rise.
Just things where it's unnecessary. You don't really... There's no reason for it.
No, there's not.
But again, I could be wrong when it comes to like the same thing with the Saw thing, where it's like there's a formula that people like and you don't abandon it.
That's the thing, dude. You go into test screenings. Remember, notoriously, Daniel Farrens told us it was those test screenings that Dimension, the Weinsteins did to Halloween 6. That's why it got chopped up so much. Like the most ridiculous jump cuts you've ever seen in films. Like, you and I like it. We were also really young.
Yeah.
That movie got completely changed and messed around with, and it's all because of those test screenings. So there's something to it that, yes, when there's a happy ending, people react a lot more. They're more receptive to a happy ending than not.
Yeah. Usually, the people they get aren't actual fans of it or whatever.
Right?
Like, who knows? I don't know how they do it.
I know, but all right. So now that I'm sorry, I just wanted to get to The Last Omen because I really enjoyed it. I remember. It's one of those things we saw midday, which is kind of weird to think like we haven't done that.
Might have been like 11 a.m. or 10:30
yeah,
a.m.
It was pretty early.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Nobody else was in the theater.
No, nobody's there.
Ruin it. I saw Ghostbusters, not a horror movie, but I saw that in the first part of the year.
For Frozen Empire?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we cover Ghostbusters counts.
Counts? Okay.
I think. Well, I mean, we did episodes on Ghostbusters. We talk about Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is like the gateway. It was a gateway drug.
That's right. That was good. And I remember that quote at the time. I'm like, you're right. That's a good point. All right. So yeah, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. Now we're to The Last Omen. We already talked about Maxine. Does
Godzilla, King Kong, New Empire count?
I saw it only because I was sick and I was home and it was on.
Yeah.
But, I mean, from a Godzilla fan, man, like, I loved Gareth Edwards' 2014 Godzilla.
Yeah.
I liked Godzilla King of the Monsters. I thought that Godzilla vs. Kong was fun.
Right.
I'm kind of checked out.
Probably could have left it alone.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think... And Kong Skull Island was a good movie, but...
It was a good time.
Yeah.
I like how they twist... There was a good way to, like, the Middle Earth kind of thing, or whatever they called it. Very clever way to get away from the original story. Sure. Make it its own thing.
Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the one that just came out, what's it called? The New Empire, Godzilla X Kong.
Yeah.
No, I'm just out at this point.
Yeah. Swing and a miss on that one.
I saw it because it just happened to be there and I was sick. I didn't say, I got to go to the movie theater to see this. And I love Godzilla. He's one of my favorites.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not at all.
Not that there's anything wrong with that at all. So what else? We have Night Swim. I didn't see that one. Someone was talking about that.
I know you can find a review for that on redriverhorror.com.
That's what it is.
Swim. And I believe it's available on Peacock to stream, as Peacock. Is Abigail. People were very happy with Abigail. I still have not seen it. I think it's a child vampire, the girl that dances. People liked that, right? I like that a lot.
Is that a child vampire?
Maybe.
You know what? I'm thinking in the wrong direction. I just started thinking of Megan.
Oh, yeah. No. So Night Swim and Abigail, I remember they came out at the similar time frame, similar point of the year. That makes sense.
Yeah. So the film follows a group of kidnappers who capture the daughter of a powerful underworld. Oh, that's right. See, there's so much that happened where it's like, oh yeah.
Again, Joe, but
I saw this.
Why is it hard to place a lot of this stuff? So other than The Last Omen, and there's probably a few others, we can't say all, but other than The Last Omen, what is like a known commodity that came out? Like, people loved Abigail because it was original.
Yeah.
Like, they loved that film. So, like, I'm not...
Same thing with, like, Late Night with the Devil.
Exactly.
And then, I mean, you have... So, I mean, we're going to jump way ahead, but, like, you had Terrifier 3, which got some mixed reviews.
Yeah,
my teenager who loves Terrifier.
She got it on Red October 2 this year.
Yeah, she did.
Or 3, sorry.
But did not like Terrifier 3.
Really?
No. And I don't know if you talk to 15-year-olds too often, especially, deep 15-year-olds who they don't have a lot to say.
I'm just
Why did
surprised.
You like it? Oh, no, it just wasn't as good.
Right.
Okay.
Anything else? No. Just
going to bed. Bye.
Yeah, Terrifier. I'm so happy for Damien Leone. I'm so happy that...
Gotta love it, like an indie.
Exactly.
As it did,
like legit built from the ground up, like no major studio supporting them when they first start. Like, I mean, it's so cool. I'm so happy for them, but I can see, like, I have heard a lot of negative things about Terrifier 3. And the funny thing is, like, it doesn't matter. They're laughing all the way to the bank because they are already going to make a Terrifier 4. And again, it's that independent spirit. People love it. Art the Clown looks great. And it's when you have a hit like that on your hands, why not? Yeah. Enjoy the ride.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about this one? How about the 2024 remake of Speak No Evil? James McAvoy.
Oh, right. I didn't see that one either. Okay. And I love James McAvoy. I'm a McAvoy fan.
Yeah. Well, it's a remake of a Danish film. But, yeah, I was like, no. I was like, no, it's on my list. But I didn't watch it. Because there's another guy who I don't normally associate with horror was in a horror movie that's probably in my, I don't know, I got to watch it a couple more times, but might be in my, like, I'll say top 20. I mean, it's definitely my favorite for the year.
Okay.
Yeah. And then remember, Zoe came with us to see that. And I was like, Zoe,
Top 20.
if you had a time machine and took me back in time to when I was your age and told me I was excited to see a movie starring Hugh Grant, I would have told you to go fuck yourself. And instead, that movie is Heretic, which I think is probably the best A24 movie.
What a surprise.
Yeah, I just loved it.
What a freaking surprise. He was awesome.
Amazing.
Like, awesome in that. Like, yes, Hugh Grant, like, oh, cheerio. Like, the romantic comedies, all that stuff. Nah,
Playing
man.
the same character and everything.
No, Heretic was a surprise, and it was cool. We saw that late, like the full theater experience. I think when we saw that when the first night of Wicked, so there was a lot of crazy people dressed up or whatever.
Yeah, we didn't understand why we're like, what the hell's going on? The theater, like the parking lot, there was no parking spots, which is not something you're used to. I mean, at all. I mean, movies have not been as full.
No, it's not. It's not Star Wars Part 80 or the Avengers Part 70. Like, this was.
It was insane.
Like, what is going on?
But then we got inside, and there was a bunch of people wearing witch outfits. It all pieced together.
Yeah, and I think that's a drama club thing, right? Like, that's people who love plays and stuff loved Wicked. So it's like
Well, yeah, it's a very popular musical on Broadway.
right. I don't know.
It's toured. It's done. It's only about 20 years old.
Okay.
Which is, it did very well. I've not seen it. I've heard some of the music from it, but that's not really.
It legit packed out a theater like a Star Wars movie. Like,
people, it was on multiple screens. People dressed up, and all of them sold out.
We tried to wait in line for concessions.
Yeah, you had to get out of there. The staff was overwhelmed because they're not staffed like they used to be to handle these kinds of things.
Right. Yep.
So, I mean, it was insane. But whatever, we got in and saw Heretic in theaters, and I really enjoyed every minute of it.
It was so good. The two young ladies, the actresses that...
Yeah, I don't have the names in front of me. One's from Yellow Jackets, and the other's from...
Oh, yeah, right. So Yes, Yellow Jackets, because you said the one girl from Scream, the new Scream movies.
Yeah.
In Yellow Jackets. Okay. No, that makes sense. That was... Heretic is worth watching. Again, it's something different. You have no idea where to... Like, even if... I'd actually encourage you to watch the trailer to that. If you were a Joe D type and you don't watch trailers because you don't want to give anything away, what's cool about that is just like... When I saw the trailer and then when you said, hey, going to see this, you want to see that? Yes.
Yeah.
Completely...
Yeah, and I mean, the cast is Hugh Grant, and then you have the two. We got to give a shout out to two actresses, Sophie Thatcher, and that's who's also in Yellow Jackets.
Okay.
And Chloe East, who was on True Blood, which some point maybe we'll talk about True Blood. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
I got somewhat into the first season, but we were coming out of the pandemic thing, so I just stopped watching it. Like,
there are few TV series that have dove off a cliff, going from really good to unbelievably bad in the snap of a finger.
Yeah.
And how they pulled it off was all they had to do was like someone just had to say, I don't think this is a good idea, and it would have been fine. But whatever.
And that's the one. It's just the thing is though, like it was a bit gratuitous. True Blood.
Well, yeah.
Like it almost like it started to become like about just banging and killing and all. It was just like, all right.
Well, yeah, because like the vampires are thirsty for sex too, so it's almost a softcore porn at some points.
So and which is fine if that's your thing. Like I was not that I get into horror stuff for the stories. Yes, like I mean you do whatever. Like,
yeah.
There's no, but it was almost ridiculous. Is what I mean.
Yeah, I mean it's the weirdest part about getting older is like this scenes like I mean I used to like that was the greatest thing in my life when I was 14 years old.
Right.
And now it's kind of like, if this doesn't do anything for the plot, then what the hell are we doing here?
Right.
Put your pants on. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's advance the plot here.
Yeah. But also, shout out for in Heretic, Topher Grace.
Yes.
Who took me until the end. I'm like, wait a minute, that's fucking Topher Grace.
I know that guy.
Foreman.
He just he pops up randomly in movies, man. You're like, oh yeah.
Low-key Topher Grace.
My God, I like that. And maybe that's the way to do it. Like if you're an actor, if you're like a good actor, and just pop, it's just like you look at a script, yeah, what the hell? I'll do this.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you have a hit TV show like build like he did, I mean, you don't have to do shit.
No.
I can't imagine that the residuals are still that big, but
still,
I'm sure as long as you play your cards right, you'll be set up.
But Heretic was fun. I'm not fun, actually. No, it was very serious. But like,
it's an A+. It's a 5-boater for me. I loved it, every second of it.
It's kind of like, so how did you feel after the cut to Justin Long in Barbarian? How did you feel about that?
I mean, I'm very okay with it. Like,
okay, that's fine, and that's, I think, more your thing, and a lot of people with Barbarian are okay with that. Like, it's just like, okay, yeah, I mean, the movie completely cuts, and we're doing something different for a while, and it gets a little more zany and a little more goofy. I loved the tone of Barbarian before Justin Long got in it. Like,
okay,
like I loved it. I thought it was just like, oh, I mean,
that's a gosh. Justin Long's in a horror movie kind of thing. Think about Jeepers Creepers. Right. Just a real change of pace.
It just but with Barbarian specifically, it jerks you in the middle of the film to the next part. It's just like boom. So I loved the first half of Barbarian. Heretic actually brought me all the way through. Heretic, it was like to me that first half of Barbarian, and it's just like, you know what, buddy? Did you get gypped on Barbarian? In Heretic, it's just like Heretic said, let's finish the story. Let's go. Yeah. And it kind of grabbed my hand, walked me through. I'm like, okay, now this is how I want something like this to end.
Yeah. And my favorite thing about the ending of Heretic is like anybody I've heard, like when they have any kind of gripe with them, like you should probably watch it again because you probably missed something. There's a lot of little nuances in the movie. And it's like there's a lot of little Easter eggs, little other things that are hidden that where the ending leaves you questioning, well, at what point? Mm-hmm. So it's so good.
No, Heretic is it's one of those movies that I am going to buy.
Yeah.
Like that's worth owning because you're right. Like we saw it on the big screen and it was awesome, wonderfully acted, very creepy. Like there's a difference between the like straight up depressing tone I was talking about that I talk about a lot on this podcast, that depressing horror that I just can't do on a Friday night. Big difference between that and what the first half of Barbarian gives us and all of Heretic gives us. That's a very like tense, suspenseful, but not too much. Like
and dialogue that just keeps you engaged.
Yeah. Like that's acting.
Yeah.
Like that, like those people, it's kind of like
it could have been a play and I still would have been like, this is amazing.
Exactly. And that's what, not to bring up The Sopranos again, but they say it's like when you're watching Tony and oh my God, Carmela, sorry. Wow. I kind of forget that one. So when you're watching Tony and Carmela, it's just like that's not like
Tony.
Like it's James Gandolfini and Edie Falco.
Yeah.
Just like, but it's just like, holy crap, they're Tony and Carm. Mm-hmm. They're Tony. It's just like, that's how good it was. That's what Heretic, because it is dialogue heavy. You need that dialogue to start the whole thing into motion. And Hugh Grant.
Yeah. Honestly, like almost Tarantino-esque.
Yeah.
Except his dialogue can get a little insane.
Yeah.
Because he's also slightly insane.
Yeah.
And that's why he's made it as far as he did.
People love when he makes movies, man. Love him. But yes, Heretic, not to spend so much time on it, but for me, it's everything that I wanted Barbarian to take me through all the way. That kind of tone, that kind of acting between two people and the tense moments. It's just like, well, what's next? Like open up another door. What's next? Take me down a little further. What's next? Heretic actually did that.
Yeah, and it guides you. And it's just from the opening dialogue all the way through. I'm like, and like the way this all connects is like, I don't know. I mean, it hit every spot for me.
It's something special.
So I really, really enjoyed that. That it's a 5 out of 5 vote.
Whoa!
In my category, yeah,
5 out of 5.
Yeah, and I told you, like, probably in my top 20. Just
I should have figured that out.
I freaking loved it. That
was good. That was a treat, and I didn't know what to expect. When we saw it, I did not know what to expect.
No, and I thought there was going to be more to it, and just everything stayed small. Small cast, like, just never really strayed from that.
No. So. And when something happened, it did shock you. Yeah. There were some shocking moments, like when something happened and it was a big deal. It was a big deal. It was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's like
a lot of good mind games. I mean, just really well done.
Yep.
Really well done.
I'm glad we shared, because I didn't know, like I said, I'm the type, last time I mentioned Barbarian, loved the first half, hated Justin Long taking us through the rest of it. Heretic brought me all the way through. It brought me down, brought me in, opened a door, shot another one, loved it. Awesome.
That's interesting, because Barbarian gets a lot of love.
Oh, people love. Oh, absolutely. I'm in the minority with the.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. So now it's like, all right, you know what? Now I'm gonna go back and rewatch that, because I didn't like. I was just like, I remember being like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't.
No,
still fine with it. But
Heretic kind of kept that tone that I like, and just brought me all the way through.
The whole way through. I mean, just what a fantastic movie.
That is it's worth owning. Like, I want to watch that movie again, and as you said, I want to be able to watch it again and again, because you're right. Like, now that we know how it ends, it's like, what did I miss along the way?
Yeah,
because the screen's massive. We saw it in theaters. It's just like, what did I miss? Is something moving over there? Is there, like, honestly, you could almost. This is. I know. It seems like we're puffing this up too much. It's almost a sensory experience.
It really is.
Like. When you watch it, if you haven't seen it yet, you start to realize how important the smells.
Turn the lights off
that they're experiencing. Like, it's wild.
It's so worth making sure you immerse into it. Like, I can't imagine. That's how I like a good horror movie, and I don't understand. Like, I can't imagine watching the Blair Witch Project with the lights on.
No,
things like that, and like I think Heretic's in that category. It's like. You could, but I mean, like, no, go make the room a vibe.
You need to be uneasy.
Yeah.
Like, you need to start going into this thinking, ooh, do I want to put the lights off? And you just got to ride through and say, that's the way I'm going to do it. Same with, and again, you could say it's overhyped, and I know you haven't seen it yet, but there's also stuff you've seen that I have not.
Correct.
Longlegs.
Yeah.
Longlegs got the Maxine treatment in that there was a lot of influencer marketing, a lot of people saying that this is the scariest thing I've ever seen. Nicolas Cage looks the scariest ever. Like, there was a lot of that going into Longlegs. So I totally get it if by the time you got there, you're just like, really? Like, that was it? I understand that. Longlegs was another one that I will say the story won't captivate you as much as Heretic did us. But it is uneasy. There are moments that will actually scare you.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, again, it's one of those movies that you have to watch again to see some of the things that you missed the first time in Longlegs. So you not that I think that anybody can kind of figure out the plot. It's not like a
Yeah, no, I'm really kicking myself because I was like, when December hit, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get really into Christmas movies this year. It's like, usually I have my regulars.
Sure.
Which is, Vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get whatever chunk of A Christmas Story. And then, but I'm like, no, this year we're going all in. I'm going to watch these Christmas movies.
Yeah.
So.
No, and we did the same thing. Like, Longlegs is one of those where you have to watch it and you watch it again, you will be creeped out by some of the things that you see and some of the things that you missed. Story is okay. Like, comparing it, the people that were saying that it's like Silence of the Lambs, like, yes, in spirit, it's similar to Silence of the Lambs. Micah Monroe's great. She's great in everything. Like, I just think she's a really good actress. I love It Follows. I may be biased, but
no, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
you know, but yes, it is creepy. It's worth watching. Don't let the overhype, make you mad at it going into it. It's still worth a watch. And yes, it's a vibe. You gotta have the room in the right setting, the lights off.
That's fair.
And I think if you do that, you will get creeped out, Joe.
Okay. In. Yep. I'm in. I will do it.
So
as soon as possible.
So that's Long Legs. Was huge. On to something. So you and I saw The Last Omen together. We saw Heretic together. Mm-hmm. That's in your top 20.
Yeah.
Late Night with the Devil. Saw separately, but both liked it. Like, agree that all the love that it got is important. So I'm trying to take us to the end of 2024 because we have a big year ahead, and we also got to talk about some of the awards season. We're not going to do that this episode, probably next.
Yeah, which is basically the substance, which is what we have to give it.
Yes.
Full episode discussion.
Yep.
With its Oscar nomination, which is crazy.
And up to this point, Joe, I have not seen The Substance. And that's the thing, because here's what happened with The Substance. Mm-hmm. That came out very, very close to Nosferatu, Robert Eggers and Bill Skarsgård. It's just like people were really, really excited about Nosferatu. And also, remember, not even like going into this year, Beetlejuice, not a horror movie.
Yeah.
But people were pumped about it. So, like,
also Gateway.
A gateway, yeah.
For the people our age.
That's fair.
Or anybody younger. I mean, anybody's like, Beetlejuice a gateway to creepy.
Mm-hmm. But The Substance, it wasn't on anyone. So if you were a horror fan, then yes, you found your way to it. Mm-hmm. If you weren't, you definitely saw at the Golden Globes, I think, Demi Moore won. She actually won. I knew she was nominated, but she won the award, and that was her first acting award.
Get out of here.
So the celebrity culture, like if you're into celebrity culture, and
she's been such a name for such a long time. It's amazing how like some of these big names never actually win anything big.
Yep.
Half the time it's like a flat, like, the flavor of the year.
Right.
Which is a shame because, some people who really, stick around for a long time. They're always good in everything they do.
Sure. Yeah. And do you think? Well,
why Denzel have to be crooked when he
dude,
had to be crooked when he took it.
Training Day is one of my top 10 favorite movies. Anybody.
Yeah, but he's already just been good in everything he's done.
He has that at the time. Like, that's the thing. You got to put yourself in that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Training Day is just.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It really is.
And he's just so damn good. But anyway. That's for a different kind of podcast. We get to horror, though. The Substance came out very close to Nosferatu. I wouldn't say very close, but by the time it caught on and people started hearing about it, it's just like, wow, now what is this? Then Demi Moore takes the Golden Globe, and it's like, so now there are more eyeballs on it. So
I was so hype for, like, not to get away from The Substance or give, we have to give The Substance its own episode. We got to get, make sure it's viewed and ready.
It's award season horror, man. Yeah.
I actually prepared a bunch of stuff. I did so we still could do a full episode on Nosferatu if you wanted to. I mean, I've seen it, but also I was so pumped for it that I watched the silent film, the 1970s. So Willem Dafoe rocking in both.
Which is awesome.
And I just did a ton of research into the history behind the making of the original, silent film, because it is actually really fascinating. And then the movie itself, why were there certain changes? What was the reasoning behind, why did Eggers do what he did? So I just dug through some interviews, some other notes, and
let's save it then. Like, if you did just because I know that I'd be interesting to hear what you had to say and what you uncovered there, only because like as horror fans, we've been told our whole lives through different documentaries how great Nosferatu was in the 20s and why it was important, and Max Schreck's performance and all that stuff. But like I don't know anything past you got to see it. It's a classic. It's one of the foundations of horror. Like
the whole production process of getting it made is extensive.
Wow.
I could do just. There's a brief part. I mean, it's not that crazy, but I thought it was really interesting because it's like you don't think about 100 years ago,
right?
Copyright issues.
No, you don't.
So, I think that's one of the big deals. It's one of the first major copyright lawsuits.
So there's a reason he's Count Orlok and not Count Dracula.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little quick brief overview to give you warm up the engine a little bit, and then we can do a deep dive.
Okay.
So the reason why he's Orlok is because they couldn't use Dracula. Mm-hmm. And it is very much the same story as Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now the thing is, Bram Stoker had passed away. Bram Stoker's widow was still alive and would not give them the rights.
Wow.
It was supposed to be a Dracula movie. They could not get any of the rights to do it. The title, Nosferatu, is used in Dracula.
Okay.
So, but it's not the reference to Dracula himself. But everything about it is. And I think that's where a lot of people, I could tell in theaters who weren't familiar with Nosferatu, seeing this going into it blind, not knowing that it is a Dracula copycat.
Right.
Were like, I swear to God, I mean, we were in a full theater and I literally heard people were like, yo, this is just Dracula. This is a ripoff. I'm like, no shit.
Right. No. And we should do a deeper dive because again, I just superficially know about some of what Robert Eggers was trying to do, why it's Nosferatu and not Dracula. So I think it's important. We should probably explore those things when we have more time.
Yeah, and one of the biggest changes that he made, that he's getting a lot of flack for, when explained, makes a lot of sense to me. But you're going to have to watch it first before we can discuss it.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it. I have to watch it again in a more quiet setting again. Crowded theater, a theater where I thought even if it was crowded, was going to be relatively quiet.
They treated it like a Friday horror release.
Yeah, there was one group that was sitting up front because they came in late, and it's like, it's an old school theater.
Yep.
And they just bunched up in the front and just started being loud and
damn,
really took away from how Eggers captures atmosphere.
Right.
And so people acting like a bunch of, silly billies can really
this is the guy
take
that
the fun out of it.
Made The Witch, the guy that made The Lighthouse. Yes, atmosphere, tone, cinematography, all of it is extremely important.
He does not miss.
You have to be living in the world he's showing. Yeah. You have to kind of bask in the sunlight of that world, if you will, in order to he goes through great lengths to make you as close as possible to the actual time period.
Yeah.
So yes, people coming in and freaking out on a.
And now here's the good news, because it is long, but it also feels like when I saw it in theaters, it feels like there is something missing. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely cuts made for time.
Sure.
And already, as it's coming to streaming, the director's cut's already out with the added time. So, not a bad way to start 2025 on a movie that you saw in 2024 and you want to revisit it because it feels like there's just a little something.
Well, maybe that's where we'll leave it.
Yeah.
Only because that's where horror left us in 2024.
Yeah. And we're also running out of time.
We are running out of time. No, so Joe, this has been a lot of fun. Sorry if I talk too much. It's been so long. It's all been bottled up. We didn't even get to talk right after we saw Heretic. No. And we really should have. Because I didn't know that you felt that way about the film. We were just kind of talking on our way out of the theater.
Poor Zoe had to deal with on the drive home. So,
but no, this has been a lot of fun. I feel like I talk too much, so next time it'll be a little more balanced because you have seen Nosferatu, you've done the research. So that's where we're going to go. So with Red River Horror, we're back. The podcast is back. It's good to see you again. We will be on video. We will have some nice cuts. and some visual presentation for you next time, because
It's all going to happen in the new studio, baby.
this is how it's going to happen. You ready?
Yeah.
We got this episode. We're putting a wrap on it right now.
Yeah.
As soon as I shut up. Nosferatu, and then Oscar-winning horror. And we're going to bring in some film critics. Not just Stacy, but I
That's going
think
to be exciting.
I want to relive some of the greats in horror history that have won Oscar nominees, Oscar winners, whatever. Horror has a great history, and it's back with films like Nosferatu and The Substance. It's back in the awards game again, so we're going to talk about all of it. So the next one is Nosferatu, Joe. I can't wait.
All right, so that's what we'll do for episode number 114.
Yeah.
All right, and so this has been episode number 113 of the Red River Horror Podcast. I'm Joe Zakreski, and you are...
Highly caffeinated Eddie Cayazzo.
Yeah, and then remember, if you have any suggestions on what we missed in 2000, if whatever we missed in 2024, let us know, saying you missed this one, you got to see it. Hit us up on all the socials, follow us, subscribe.
It's pretty easy. At Red River Horror.
At Red River Horror, very easy. And make sure to check out the YouTube. Eddie's got some fun shorts. Visited The Exorcist Steps, got some great shots of that. Mm-hmm. And as always, remember to keep traveling those channels of fear.
Stop it and then start, or just let me...
Is it rolling?
It's rolling, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was dead. Oh, no, there it goes.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my bad. I was just goofing around because I thought it was...
No, you're good.
All right, so here we go. Ready?
All right, ready.